All right, there is some good news going for the Detroit Lions, even though it actually has nothing to do with the Detroit Lions. But there's a player who was recently released, and I think it's something that the Lions should absolutely consider. I think it's something that they should consider, and we're going to talk about why. And I'm also going to talk about why they don't necessarily have to pull into this. All right, they don't have to. But let's get into this. As Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter reported on Twitter, and by the way, follow us on Twitter, Sports Talk Detroit. Why not? All right, if you follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter too. You can get videos there. You can get some of our thoughts and all that other kind of stuff. The Browns have released edge Okoronkwo, a former big-ticket free agent, in the final year of his 3-year, $19 million deal. Now, some of us may not fully understand or know who this guy is, what kind of production he's had. So I'm going to just give you a quick rundown and a quick, just kind of, all right, here's who he is, here's what he's done. He was originally drafted in the 5th round by the LA Rams back in 2018. In that, he had 3, he was productive when he played, but he played sparingly. And in his final season with the Rams, he played 314 snaps as a rotational pass rusher. He had 3 sacks that year. Then he went to Houston for a year, where he played 517 snaps, again as a rotational pass rusher, where he had 5 sacks. He had 6 hits on the quarterback and 25 hurries. Not bad for 268 pass rushing snaps. Honestly, not that bad at all. So he's out there for a lot of pass rushing stuff. Here's the interesting thing we'll get to. He then signs a contract with the Cleveland Browns, who say, you know what? We think he could be something kind of special. We need someone opposite of our guy, Myles Garrett. Sound familiar with what Detroit's doing? And so they sign him to a 3-year deal for $19 million. Now, this is one of those signings that could either end up going really well if he plays really well, or could go poorly. Year 1, he played well. He had 5 sacks with the Browns. He had a PFF grade of 65.3 on 459 total snaps. Then, the last year, as Cleveland's team went to crap, if I'm going to be completely honest, so did his game. Here's the interesting part about his game. He's always been a pass rush specialist, but he's consistently had run grades or run defensive grades that stack up to his pass rushing grades. He's only listed at 6'2", 250 pounds. Why should this interest the Detroit Lions? We've been just running around the bush, not re-signing Zadarius Smith. Okoronkwo, all right, could come in as a cheaper player. Now, is he as good? That's the other question that has to be asked. All right, here's the other question that has to be asked. Is he as good? I think many Lions fans would maybe scoff at the idea that we're going to bring in a guy who's not even as good, but we have to look at what we already have too. I'm going to get into that for a second. Don't scoff at this. Okoronkwo is 30 years old. Zadarius Smith is 32. I understand that doesn't seem like a big difference, but as a defensive lineman on the wrong side of 30, it is a big difference. All right, in his 6 NFL seasons, just listen to a couple of these. All right, he's recorded 132 tackles. He's had 32 TFLs, tackle for losses. He's had 17 sacks and 4 pass deflections. He's also had 4 forced fumbles. All right, his best season was in 2022, which was a contract year. With the Houston Texans, he tallied 44 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and 6 QB hits. 25 QB hurries, 32 QB pressures. Like that is all according to PFF. I was just talking to you about some of those. So here's what we know about Okoronkwo. He plays good during contract years. He's 30 years old. Whoever he signs with is going to give him a 1-year prove-it deal, maybe a 2-year with all the guaranteed money coming in the first year, okay? All the guaranteed money coming in the first year. He is going to want to play to earn another paycheck, especially at 30. He's going to want to prove he can still do it, so somebody is willing to give him money at 31. If he doesn't have a good year this year, he's out of the NFL. He's out. So I think this is someone that could come in. I think the fit makes sense, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best play. Would I rather have Zadarius Smith for equal money? Of course I would. Of course I would rather have Zadarius Smith for equal money. But this can be less money, and it can help kind of ensure that you're not just having what happened last year, that you have enough depth where you're not just throwing random crap at the wall and see what sticks. All right, because he's also been pretty good as far as health goes. Now, another thing that I think is important to recognize is he is a really good athlete. Here is his RAS score coming out of Oklahoma. All right, he was very poor when it comes to height and size. His arm length is fine, by the way. You want to see it up toward that 34 range, and he's at 33 3/4. All right, but he was very strong on the bench press, even though he wasn't very heavy for a defensive end, 25 reps on the bench press. He had really good speed, but he had elite explosion and agility. So, yes, this is someone who, if he needs to drop back, things like that, he shows the athleticism needed to be able to do things like that. So this is one of those moves where it's just like, hey, maybe the Lions should be linked to this as a signing. Bring him in here. Don't give him a ton of money. Bring him in. There's no worry about salary cap. Everything's starting from afresh. The Detroit Lions have plenty of money on their salary cap. But here's the other thing that I think needs to be talked about. PFF posted, as of recording this today, the top 10 defensive lines in the NFL based on their rankings. This is on Twitter. Again, follow us on Twitter. All right? Look who comes in at number 6. It's the Detroit Lions. I think so often we misrepresent or we misconstrue or we forget just how good our defensive line was or is this year because of all the injuries last year. Aleem McNeil will be coming back halfway through the season, or at least somewhere, give or take a few weeks. All right? We have Hutchinson back and healthy. We just drafted, all right, a fantastic defensive end, at least we're hoping, right? We still have DJ Reader. There are still players on this team. Levi Onwuzurike is still here. Pascal is still here. There are a lot of these players that are already here. Don't even get me started on rookie Ahmed Hassanin. I'm excited to see what he can do. He's a beast. He's a beast, and he's a guy who's going to work hard that I think there's almost no way he doesn't succeed. So, anyways, with all that being said, I think this still could be a good fit to bring another veteran presence into the defensive line and just create a little more depth because injuries happen. I think we have a ton of depth on the interior. We could increase some depth on the outside, and this is someone who maybe could fit that bill, but it doesn't necessarily have to be him. All right, hey, thanks for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is this a guy you'd love to go give $4 million to? Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments below. See you in the next one.